famous Rolex stands of Nyanyambisi to the roadside chicken grills, chicken and eggs are some of the most nutritious foods consumed in Uganda. Therefore, it's no surprise that farmers are flocking poultry farming, in particular layer chickens. Unfortunately, most aspiring farmers have backed out of the venture due to the chicken's susceptible nature to diseases and high loss rate. But the successful chicken rearers say that this failure is due to lack of planning, especially when constructing the bird's shelter or shed. So, what is the right structure for your layer chicken? Coming up.
So as a farmer, you must understand that birds don't need a lot, but they just need a shelter. Once you provide a shelter, protect them from rain, allow air to enter, that's enough for the birds.
People start a business, especially farming, and you think that in 1 or 2 years you are going to go in, put in your money and get your returns. It doesn't work out like that. When you go in, you set your target, you give yourself time and know that in the first year this is what I'm going to do, in the second year this is what I'm going to do. You don't only look at the profit in terms of figures, but you also need to look at growth.
Located in Zigoti, Mityana, is the Dam Commercial Farm. At this more than 10-acre farming land are goats, sheep, trees, and mainly layer chickens.
I'm called Edwin. I am a lawyer by profession, born and raised as a farmer, and also now a practicing farmer. We are dealing in poultry, specifically layers. When I was still having a formal job, I found out that during my weekends I was having enough time, and I wanted to do a side business. So I started it while I was still in my formal employment as a side business. I started developing it until it reached a certain level where I felt that it needed more of my time. So I decided to quit my job and go into self-employment, this project being one of the targets that I was going into. We started here in 2009. At the beginning we were doing so many ventures because we wanted to do a trial and find out what we can do better or what would work for us. So we started with a number of enterprises until we zeroed down on the current 3 which we are doing.
And amongst the 3 ventures on Dam Farm, poultry farming for layer chickens is the most prominent. In the span of 12 years, Edwin has achieved success by learning from his shortcomings and knowing to hire professionals like Dr. Sechiwuga Rogers, who is the veterinarian in charge of the farm.
Dr. Sechiwuga Rogers, commonly known as the chicken doctor himself. Yeah, I'm a veterinarian by profession, but specializes in chicken. So I deal with chicken only.
The chicken doctor is proud to be the kind of doctor who eats his patients for a delicious meal, but most importantly, that he gets to help poultry farmers maximize their profits and farming experience.
My duties, one is to make sure we minimize disease outbreak on the farm, we maximize egg production, we make sure that the birds are in the suitable condition for the farmer to earn as much profit as they are supposed to earn from a flock like this.
The number of chicken you rear directly affects the eggs you get as a farmer. That's why most commercial poultry farmers want to rear as much chicken as possible. Therefore, the question to ask is, what kind of poultry systems are viable for intensive poultry farming production?
That we have a system whereby the birds are left to move. We all know that. Whereby they move, they come back in the evening. That's free range. Now the intensive system is when birds are enclosed. They are enclosed and you give them feed and water from within. So we have two. We have what we call the deep litter system, whereby the birds are on the floor. Everything is on the floor. They lay on the floor. They eat on the floor. Feed is provided on the floor. And then this system, like this one, is what we call the battery cage system, whereby birds are in cages separated in it can be 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 7, or 15, depending on the size and type of cage.
Of the three systems, the deep litter and battery cage system are suitable for intensive poultry production, and these require setting up shelters for the birds.
So people are used to keep birds in the garage, birds in houses where we stay. So that also spread to people who are doing commercial now. You find a poultry farmer who has constructed a human house but for birds. More expensive but less suitable. Some of the factors you must consider when you are setting up a poultry house. You must have it in mind as a poultry farmer that the poultry house must be roofed. So you don't expect rain to be hitting the birds. Number 2, you must have a few feet from the ground to make sure rain does not end up in the houses. Your houses should not flood. So if you can have a concrete floor. But even if you can't, you can also do without a concrete floor, because very many do that. Another thing, a poultry farmer must know that a chicken house must be rectangular in shape, whereby it must be in a shape of a chicken, whereby it is longer than wide. And we always advise poultry farmers not to exceed 10 meters maximum. So if you find someone who has already constructed, you can ignore, but the standard must be in width. The house must not exceed 10 meters. And there is a reason for that. That in most cases, we design the houses in the way that the wind will blow from the northern side to the southern side. So it must be that when the wind is coming, there is a distance it has to move in order to lose its strength. So it is estimated that 9 to 10 meters, the wind has lost strength. So if your house is too wide, wind is going to lose strength in the middle of your house. So all the dirt, the dust, the jam the wind is carrying is going to be dumped in your house, predisposing your house to a lot of infections. So make it a bit narrow, less than 10 meters, so that wind can blow through the mesh to the other mesh, so that most of the things are out. Then for length, you can have as long as you want. But for width, that's where the issue is. Point number 2, make sure you don't have fruit trees around your chicken house. It is very dangerous. Why? Fruits will always attract wild birds and insects. And those same things are going to cause issues to your chicken house, whereby most of the diseases like Newcastle, diseases like Gumboro, diseases like coccidiosis, they are transferred from wild birds to our commercial birds. So you don't want anything that is going to bring wild birds closer to your flock. So very many think that when you put trees, you are providing shelter and a cool environment, but it's not right. If you are going for shade, go for non-fruit trees. Things like eucalyptus, things like pine, but don't go with things like guavas, mangoes. Those are going to cause you a big problem. Point number 3 about a chicken house, make sure it has very good aeration or ventilation. Because remember, chicken are always congested. So they need a lot of airflow in that they can get enough oxygen, because oxygen is required in the process of egg laying and other things. Oxygen is needed for energy. They eat food which has to be broken down, the process of digestion. All that needs oxygen, and also the air they breathe out has to go out. So when it comes to younger ones, like the ones, very many people in the villages and the farmers who don't know how it is done, they close off the whole brooder. They seal, and the reason they give, chicken are too young and they lose a lot of heat. So they try to protect the heat within. But that is not right. You must leave spaces for expelling air from within. Remember, we put pots in the houses when chicken are young in the brooder. Pots are burning charcoal, which is carbon in science. Carbon burns with a lot of oxygen to produce carbon dioxide. But once you limit oxygen, it will burn with limited oxygen, forming carbon monoxide, which is a poisonous gas. I have seen an incident whereby a farmer even died inside the brooder, because remember, many people sleep in the brooders. Reason, these chicks are looked after like babies. You provide the feed, warm. So at day 1, day 2, the first week, many farmers sleep within, so that they make sure birds don't have any issues like congestion. So if you limit air, you can easily suffocate from carbon monoxide. So always leave some spaces for air to enter. Ventilation is very key.
Those are some of the factors to consider when constructing a poultry shelter. But if you missed a point, here is a recap. 1. A chicken house must be roofed to protect the birds from rain and provide shade, plus it must have good ventilation. Chicken don't need a fancy building or hotel to thrive. 2. Ensure there is enough security. 3. To avoid flooding, ensure the house is lifted off the ground or has a concrete base. 4. The poultry house must be rectangular in shape with a maximum width of 10 meters and the length is unlimited. 5. And last but not least, avoid fruit trees surrounding the poultry house. Well, I guess you are caught up now. Let's take a break and return with more on the deep litter and battery cage system, how to set them up and when to use either of the two. Welcome back to Seeds of Gold. Before the break, the chicken doctor Roger Sechiwunga broke down some of the most important factors to consider when constructing a chicken house and the two intensive systems for poultry production, the deep litter and battery cage system. Each system has its perks and difficulties, and when you are bringing in new chicks, planning is paramount.
Before bringing in new chicks, 1 is planning. You have to plan well, looking at your farm and the chicks you are bringing. One of the problems of late, we have experienced some issues whereby a farmer brings a number he cannot sustain on the farm. It is very easy to feed chicks at day 1 week, 3 weeks, but reaches a time when the feed intake is too high. So if you didn't plan well, you may end up being forced to sell your chicks before you get profits from them. So you plan it very well, sit with a professional, let be guided about the requirements of the bird from day 1 up to lay. Because remember, before laying, you are just injecting in cash. You are not getting anything from them. So you must be prepared, or you must have in mind that you have sources of income to sustain the birds from day 1 up to lay. Maybe a quick brief about this. The highest or the biggest expenditure in a flock like this is the feed. So you must be sure that you will be able to feed your birds from day 1 up to 18. A farmer might ask, how do I know the feed I need? 1, a bird like this will take roughly between 8 to 10 kilograms of feed from day 1 to 18 weeks, which is point of lay. So always put it in mind, you are bringing 1,000 birds, multiply by 8 or 10, get the figure, ask yourself, do you have the money to cater for them from day 1? If you don't, go for the number you'll be able to support. If you can, you are good to go, because with the feed, others you can handle.
So, after making your thorough plans, what next?
These are the steps of preparing any poultry house. Let it be for the cage or for the deep litter. After construction, Let's take an example. Okay, let's say you have never kept birds. You have just finished your house. One, you have to make sure all the excesses of the construction materials are removed. Things like nails, you have to remove. Why? Because once birds come in, they're going to eat the nails, pierce the gizzard, end up losing chicken. Some farms have that problem. You lose chicken every day, but it's from the remains of the construction. So make sure you remove everything. Then after sweep, clean the whole house. After sweeping, you have to wash with water and soap. Scrub very well if your floor is concrete. If it's not, it may not apply. But then after scrubbing and rinsing the whole house, then you have to do what we call liming, whereby you lime from the ground up to the point of the knee, whereby chicken will not be able to access any place above the knee when they are young. So lime will also provide what we call disinfection properties. It's going to kill virus, some bacteria, so it provides a clean environment for your upcoming chicks. Then after, you have to do what we call disinfection, whereby we use disinfectants, things like Ultracide or others. So you just spray in the houses, whereby you make sure all the germs are killed, because they can be from the top, they can be from the mesh, they can be from the floor, so we disinfect the whole place. Then after disinfecting, now our house is set to receive our husks. So we put in the husks in the houses. After putting in the husks, we have to put in newspapers or brooding papers, because we don't want our young chicks to get to access the husks. Reason, they will eat the husks, but husks are very hard to be broken down by the digestive system. So they're going to stay within the crop, and the bird will not eat food, so they will starve just because of that. So put newspapers or breeding papers to make sure these birds don't access the husks. Then after, close off the corners to prevent congestion. These birds always respond to sound. Any sound, they follow you. So if maybe at night something knocks, they might end up in one place, maybe in the corner, and they end up suffocating. You lose a lot. So you round off all the corners to make sure you don't have any suffocation. So that is for the deep litter house. Then at the entrance, make sure you have a point where you disinfect yourself from. Reason, you don't want to carry infections from outside inside your house to the inside of your house. So make sure every house has a disinfecting unit. And then for deep litter, you can go on and add in other things like the laying nests, if your birds are going to lay from there. You can add in feeders, you can add in drinkers. Then for this system, after you have constructed everything, originally the engineer or the builder will be guided in that he puts a middle depression where the droppings have to fall for easy correction. Then after that, the engineer of this system will come and set up the whole system, because everything will come on its own. This is the feeder, it will be on its own. This is the pipe for the water. These small ones are nipples where birds will pick water from. This is the feed. This is I already talked about, and this is the egg collection unit, whereby the eggs will always just they will go inside. After being laid, it will just float down. So everything is on its own. So what you do, put everything together, and your system will be finished. Now what's remaining is, in case you are going to transfer them here, transferring the birds from the other deep litter system to this system. So we always do it at around 3 months, when you have finished all the vaccinations of the diseases.
The battery cage system has been considered by many poultry farmers as a better option for maximum profit. Why is that so?
Now if you look at the situation in Uganda, very many people around the urban areas have an issue of land. They cannot access big plots of land or big sizes of land. So people have smaller lands, but they want to do farming. The reason, unemployment is a lot, and very many people after school want to go into this, but then they don't have land. They don't have where to start from. So this one is very efficient when it comes to smaller pieces of land, because remember, it moves from down up up. So it's like considering an underground house, like a house with one floor and a storage building. The other one takes just a short, like a small piece of land. For example, we have chicken up, below them we have chicken, here we have chicken, and even on the ground we have chicken. So this space is taking a lot of birds. But if it was a deep litter, it would run from here up the other end. So space maximization, this is very good. Another advantage it has, eggs are very clean. You can look at an egg, there is no droppings, yet the other system, chicken will poo on the eggs. So at the end of the day, after removing the eggs, you have to get someone to clean the eggs. And remember, eggs are not cleaned with water. So you get steel wire or something which is hard to clean the shells. Oh, that is extra work. So that one drives me to a point that a battery cage system needs less workers. So it's labor, it maximizes labor. Like someone can take care of 2,500 birds, one person. But for a deep litter, you might need like 4 people. Because one, you have to give water, serve feed, collect eggs, change litter. All these are not here. Because eggs just come this side, easy to collect. Feed, you just feed on like in one row. You don't have to give different feeders, so it becomes easier. Another advantage, very easy to inspect. Like as a vet doctor, when I enter a house like this, I can just look and I can just look at the house and I understand that from here, these birds are not laying. Why? Because there are no eggs. But these ones are laying because they are eggs. So it is very easy to know which birds are laying, which ones are not laying. That can drive you to a problem. You can find out whether there is a blocked nipple, water is not flowing, maybe a bird is lame, maybe there is a deficiency problem, maybe it is infection. So it is very easy to observe. Even droppings are separated from the chicken. Remember, the other one has litter, which can be wood husks, coffee husks. So observing the chicken droppings very well, it can be very hard. Yet in chicken medicine, one of the easiest ways to determine the health of the bird is observing the quality of the droppings they are bringing out, the fecal matter of the birds. That's where most of the diseases are seen from. So if you are unable to observe the dropping very well, it gives you hard time to inspect the flock very well. So this one makes it very easy because droppings are isolated. You can easily see them. Another advantage it has, feed. A system like this, birds will take slightly lesser compared to the other one. Why? The other one do a lot of exercises, so a lot of energy is used. So they require higher amounts of feed. For example, to be specific, a bird in deep litter can take up to 130 grams per day, a laying bird. But a bird in a cage can take even up to 110. So 110 to 115. Saving 15 grams of feed per day, that's a very big advantage as far as the system is concerned. So that is some of the advantages of the battery cage compared to the deep litter cage. Another thing is the what we call the bad habits in poultry or vices. Things like egg eating, pecking. The other side, they happen a lot because it is like in the groups, like when students are in a dormitory and others are sleeping in cubicles. You have more cases of fighting in a dormitory than in cubicles. So here I don't have a lot of issues of egg eating, pecking, fighting, but the other side we have a lot because birds are in one group.
The battery cage system also allows easy collection of chicken droppings that can be turned into manure.
Currently, a bag of chicken manure goes for 15,000 shillings. So I have seen farmers who construct houses just from manure money. So it's something which you are going to make money from. Just collect your manure very well, dry it well, pack in sacks. Buyers will look for you, not you looking for buyers. Buyers will look for you just to buy manure. So it is an advantage that manure is highly demanded by people who do farming.
As a new practicing poultry farmer, what system better suits your needs, deep litter or battery cage system? At the Dem Commercial Farm, both systems have been utilized for their advantages. although nothing is without challenges.
One of the mistakes we did, for example, we never did enough visits to successful farmers to learn. So I can say that most of the things we've learned on the job. But when you go in, you must have an open mind. You know that every day it's a learning experience. You keep on learning, you keep on discovering. You don't be discouraged by the challenges, because challenges are there. Challenges are part of life. They are in every business. But when you get a challenge, you go down and see what could have caused the challenge, and then you try to work it out so that you don't again face the same challenge.
Indeed, correcting your mistakes turns any farmer's venture towards profitability.
Farming, like any other business, is profitable, but all I can say, it needs time, it needs investing in it, it needs learning, and it needs patience. The problem we are getting is that people start a business, especially farming, and you think that in 1 or 2 years you are going to go in, put in your money, and get your returns. It doesn't work out like that. You start getting the benefits and looking at growth after some time. So when you go in, you set your target, you give yourself time and know that in the first year, this is what I'm going to do. In the second year, this is what I'm going to do. You don't only look at the profit in terms of figures, but you also need to look at growth.
Patience, planning and plowing, a metaphor that young and aspiring farmers might need to take heed of.
Poultry farmers using the cage, in most cases, many farmers start with the depleter. So when they shift to cage, they feel it's a relief. From hard work of the depleter to an easy work whereby you just look and eggs are coming down, feed is being eaten. But one thing you must know, you should not relax and think now you are going to relax. Why? One issue is the water system. This water system is enclosed. Don't forget to flush it. At least every 2 weeks, maximum flush this system, because anything where water collects attracts infections. Infections like E. coli, Salmonella are always waterborne infections. So if you don't keep this system clean, if you don't clean your cisterns, those white containers, very well, the water is going to cause you diseases. So always don't relax. And also another thing, each day make sure you move around your house and test for the water, whether the water is flowing. These feeders sometimes clean once in a while. Don't leave them to be clogged with old feed. You're going to get issues of molds, which will cause diseases like aflatoxinosis. So don't relax even if you are in a cage. Make sure you follow the principles of the cage system.
Whatever piece of land you own, make use of it. Get inspired, start, and invest to enjoy your seeds of gold. See you next time.